I had an epiphany the other day. Now, I often go through phases of, oh, I really want to collect Funko Pops, and then I'll buy an absolute boatload of them over time, and then eventually I kind of get bored of them, don't really see the point in them being there on the shelf, and then I start selling them off. And then I get to a point where I'm thinking, do you know what? I actually kind of want to collect them again, and I'll start buying them. And I do it with movies, and I've done it with video games over the years as well. To the point where I'm at now, where I have a fairly sizable Xbox 360 collection. I haven't added anything in a while, but I do have a Mega Drive collection, and I did say recently that I'm kind of not going to collect Xbox One and Series X games, although I will buy them to play them and then trade them in or sell them on once I'm finished with them. But money is tight, and recently I started looking around the collection to see if there was anything I could thin out, because there was a bill that I needed to pay. And then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, no, I don't want to sell anything. I like my collection, and the more I try and work it out, the more I'm hitting roadblocks. So I'm trying to work it out, and I can't. So in the end, I sell a couple of Xbox One games that I mentioned that I didn't really know if I wanted to keep because the replayability wasn't there. I've already finished them. Am I going to play them again? So Creed Boxing, for example, that went, I actually sold that for 12 quid, which I think is on par with CEX pricing, which is really good. I finished it. I've got no intention of playing that again. It's fine. It's just not a game that I thought was amazing. And I've listed Wreckfest and a few others that I've played and never really intend on playing again. Tour de France 2021, not my thing. I tried. I have no idea what's going on. I tried and tried again. I just can't get into that game, and I'm never going to play it again. So it's gone. As I mentioned, a few others have sold as well, and I'll update you in another series video about that. But packing them up and sending them out, I was thinking, I don't actually care that they've gone. And then I started thinking, would I really care if someone came into my room and said, I'll give you XX amount of money for this entire collection? Of course, I'd need to price it up. But if someone walked into my room and said, I'll give you, $1 grand, $2 grand, or whatever it is for all these games, probably wouldn't be that much, incidentally. But if they did, would I take it? And I would find it very difficult to say no. And then I started thinking, well, why do people even collect games in the first place? Why am I collecting these games if I'm happy for someone to come in and offer me a price, and then I'm just going to take it? And I come to the realization that even though I've banged on about it in the past, people collect for nostalgia. And I think people are still buying games, not necessarily because they have nostalgia for that particular game, because, for example, I have never played this. I didn't really know anything about it. It was a special edition, different cover. I never really see it. I think it was about £8 when I bought it, and I bought it because of that reason. Never see it that often. Xbox 360 game, and I bought it. Now, you can argue that, well, of course you didn't buy it for nostalgia because you've never played it. You don't even know what it is. But the nostalgia part is buying video games. When I was a kid, on a Saturday, I would go into town with pocket money, and I'd go into Electronics Boutique and a video game store that I had in my town called Soft Center. Absolutely fantastic. I can smell it from here. It doesn't exist anymore, but I used to buy games all the time, and it's the nostalgia of walking into a video game store and picking up a video game that you know nothing about. That's why I loved Blockbuster, and I cried a lot when they disappeared. Kind of. I didn't really, but now that I think about it, I probably should have shed at least one tear. And I feel like I'm collecting video games because I miss picking up video games. I loved walking around town as a child, going into the 3 or 4 video game stores that were in my town, looking at all the video games. Even though they're the same games in every shop, I would love it. And that's why I love CEX so much. People always bang on about why I keep going into CEX. You do know there are other places to buy games. eBay is the best place to go because you get the bargains. And whereas that might be true, and it probably is true, you can't walk around eBay.
I don't actually sell anything here. I just sell them on eBay.
Oh, I don't get it. Okay.
Can you help me?
No, I don't. You're on your own here. Good luck to you.
And I can't speak for everyone because, of course, you watching this will have your very own reason for collecting video games, but I'd never really thought about it before, why I'm actually doing this. Oh, I'm collecting them because I want to play them. I'm collecting them because they remind me of my childhood. So some of them have that nostalgia factor there, but I think the main reason I'm continuing to buy them, even though sometimes I'm buying games like that Risen, which, yes, I do intend on playing, but am I actually going to ever get round to it? And of course, I did make a video about this not that long ago where you'll never finish your backlog, and that is absolutely true. I don't think I ever will, and Risen is probably going to be one of those games I never get round to. But yes, I do believe the main reason I'm still continuing to collect video games, outside of the fact that I create content on it, of course. It's just because of the nostalgia and the sort of little dopamine hit, I guess, I get from walking around CEX and picking up a new video game and then just popping it on the shelf. I'm not bothered about my collection growing in size and thinking, oh wow, this is impressive. It's just that nostalgia feeling of walking around a video game store and walking out with a new game. And that's when I thought, well, if someone walked into my room and said, I'll give you XX amount of money for all these, would I really be that bothered? Because yes, despite the fact that there are a lot of video games on that shelf behind me that I really like and I really want to play, and they have replayability and I go back to time and time again. Full Auto is one of those games you can chuck on for 20 minutes, have a really intense fun race, and then put it back on the shelf for a month, and then pick it back up again in a month or two and have another 20-minute stint on it. And it's that replayability. Fight Night is one of those you can just stick in and have a couple of hours fun with and then put it back on the shelf until you're ready to go again. And that's what I love about those type of games. But I do have a lot of games that are, you know, massive 30-40 hour action RPG type things that I'll probably never play, or if I've already played them, I'll never revisit. Skyrim is a game I absolutely loved when it came out. I've put so many hours into Skyrim and I've played through it, you know, 2 or 3 times, but I'm done now. I don't think I'll ever play it again, despite the fact that it is up there. It's not my favourite game of all time, but it is up there. And Fallout New Vegas as well is also up there, but I honestly don't really see me revisiting it. Maybe with Fallout, because Fallout is actually up there as one of my favourite games. But when it comes to something like Skyrim, despite the fact that I really liked it, I don't see me playing it ever again. A lot of people won't be able to answer why they buy video games. Oh, I just like collecting games. Yeah, but why? I don't know, I just like it. And I think the root of it is the nostalgia of doing it as a child. Maybe you couldn't do it as much as you wanted to as a child because money was tight. So in a way, you're kind of living your childhood that you wanted to live now as an adult by going out and buying all the games you can afford now because you have a job. Or maybe you're kind of like me in a sense, where, yeah, you used to do it as a kid. Money wasn't super tight, but it wasn't like free flowing. So you got to buy games a lot of the time, I guess, but you just loved it. And now you're doing it as an adult because you loved it so much as a kid. And it's kind of just built into you that you want to go out and pick up a new video game. Because hand on heart, all of you with collections, how often do you honestly walk into the room and go, right, I'll play that today? You don't, do you? I mean, okay, some of you will actually, yes, I do, and that's fine. But there are going to be a lot of you like me who think you're like that, but in reality you're not. You kind of go for the same games, or you'll go for some newer stuff. You might have a bash on a couple of the older games every now and again, but the majority of the time those 3 or 4 shelves stacks of 360 games are just there to be looked at. I don't touch them as often as I want to. Said the
I'm sorry.
I'm not saying any of this is a bad thing, by the way. It's just every now and again I'll sort of have a thought and I think, wow, is that why people collect things? They're not actually collecting them because they love physical media necessarily. I mean, they do, but it kind of goes hand in hand. But the main reason is this nostalgia of going into video game stores and picking up games. And as they become more and more scarce, I suppose, and we can't really find video games that easy on the high street, places like CEX are thriving, but that's why there's always people in them. That's why you continue to go there. And the trade-in system is very nostalgic as well. It's existed since the dawn of video game stores. You take in your video games, you get some money back, and you can spend it on other video games. And that's kind of what my series was built on, building a free game collection. I use an awful lot of the CEX systems when it comes to like trading in and stuff. And again, I think it comes down to nostalgia. I love taking games in there and getting a voucher. That in itself is a bit of a rush for me. Like, I'll take 3 games in, get a £20 voucher, and now I have this £20 free ticket to go and spend on whatever I want. Yes, I've probably bought those games to trade in the first place, so it's not actually £20 free ticket, but you know what I mean? It feels like it is, because it's not actually money. It's just a free game voucher. So taking in piles of video games and getting vouchers in CEX is just an absolute nostalgia rush every single time. Let me know in the comment section if you really think about it. Why do you collect video games? Is it the preservation, or is it because it reminds you of your childhood and it is more of a nostalgia? Even if the video games you're buying are not nostalgia trips, the process is. If you'd like to check out a series video from me where I actually do these things, then you can click here. And until the next time, goodbye.